Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue exploring supposedly classical China's character. All right, Hou is today's character, and I translate as Lord. Of course, it's a different political systems back then, so the English Lord may not be exactly what you would imagine as what Hou is about. But Hou, I guess, from the Lord translation can imply that they they held a special social status. They own kind of a region of land, a piece of land, and they are not the top ruler. They probably related to the ruler, therefore granted some land and kind of their retirement package, right? So you don't mess up with my politics. I give you nice life. You just stay at peace. Something like that kind of deal, right? So that's how it's about. Okay, we have how this thing was made of. Um, in the contemporary Chinese, it's like a person, an arrowhead, and something here. It's hard to tell, but in traditional Chinese, it's a picture, an action picture unfolded. So here, this rectangular edge, so we know Chinese is a box within a box, right? It's two-dimensional, kind of like this. So we have this framing of have this sense of within this 2D frame, there are edges, right? So this we ne I mean, I don't recall we ever use bottom right corner as much, but top left corner means high ground. And then we have lower left corner. So it's always on the left side. That means lower ground. So high ground, low ground. And so here, this top frame, it has to be framed within frame because this is a composite picture. So you have to frame it differently. That top left corner means high ground. And we have a side view of a person, almost like a squatting over there. That's very interesting. Um, a little bit of Chinese. So this is a person symbol. We know in contemporary Chinese, person looks like this, looks like a Eiffel Tower, right? It's a symmetrical standing facing you, two legs standing being. That's my initial reading. But as we go through history, and I see more and more of this, it's like, it's hard to explain how a two-leg standing being would be like bending in that way. But it turned out that this is not frontal view. This two-leg standing being is not a frontal view. It's actually a side view. Oftentimes the back, this is the back side, is curvier, it's longer, and then the front side is straighter. So it's a left side, left facing person. So it's a side profile view. It's not a frontal view. And this is a front, this is a back chain of the body. And yeah, it does look like a squatting person there. And the squatting person on this top ground, and at the bottom of here is the arrow shooting out. Apparently, that person serves as a target. So what do you mean arrow shooting at this person as a target and not change into the concept of a lord? Oh, that sounds like an open blackmailing threat, right? Because I mean, now is my imagination. I don't exactly know, but ancient time, there's only one ruler at any given moment. You cannot have multiple voices. There's only one singular voice, and that is the emperor or the king of this dynasty. And then, of course, that person doesn't come singular always. It's if this is hereditary, it's always the father pass the throne to the son, singular son. So what about all the rest of the sons? And because of the I guess infant fertility rate in ancient times is a lot higher than today. So when you have a son, it's no guarantee the son will come to grow to adulthood, right? So this king would have multiple sons, just have multiple backup, like copies of our digital content, and then multiple copies of sons, and then one of them. And there probably was some selection or favoritism or whatever, right? All that manipulation or computation happened before the decision of who will be the next ruler when the king was, I guess, old enough to pass the throne over. So then the rest of the sons, they got to be content with the arrangement. So this lord was their position to be. They're not the king, but they're the lords, plural form. Depends on how many sons, right? So this lord thing, lordhood, probably almost feels like they're living at the end of a gunshot in today's imagery, in today's lingo. Live under gunshot because the king is going to be super sensitive and suspicious of any lords having, this competition residual over. Like they are not content with a lordship. They want the throne themselves. And therefore, they have to be targeted at the arrow's end, put on a high ground, and about to be shot. That's how it felt to be a lord. So it's almost like they were deprived of their political power, stripped of political power, compensated by financial power, or an easy life, something like that. All right, 封侯. So 封is grant. So apparently, it's a bigger boss or bigger power. Grant, this is lower power lordship. So that's grant. The grantor is the king, the grantee is the lord. So feng is this grant imagery. And feng actually came from something related to land, as you can see, soil symbol over there. So it's land as an ancient resource property that's used as this gifting idea of, I give you wealth, so don't mess up with my political power. 封侯, the exact same pronunciation, except the hou here. The same feng, right? One means grant, the other means seal, and then we have a mouse symbol there. So this person standing at the arrow's end, plus the mouse symbol means throat. And okay, 封侯 seal throat actually is a Chinese way to say cut throat. It's the opposite of seal throat. It's open the throat. So sometimes Chinese do that. It's using an action word that's the opposite of the actual happening. So instead of grand, feng also means seal. And instead of seal, keep the throat intact. Here is open the throat, so cut throat. 封侯 means it's still used in contemporary Chinese. And when we say, often say 一剑封侯, one sword, and then the throat is cut open. That means some, I guess, deadly maneuver. So if you take this action, that will be a cutthroat move. So that's 封侯. Just want to show you how the two are related. If we read whole lordship, it's about living under the gunshot, like a gun's end. Then at the point of the gun, okay. Then that makes sense, right? It's related to life and death situation. And this throat made from this lordship also makes sense because that's the weak point of humans, right? When animals, predators prey, they cut your throat. That's the easy way to kill. And so this lordship and this, closeness to death, to throat, oh, that makes sense, right? Okay, 王侯将相宁有种乎? This is pretty long. But this is a line of words from a lot ancient texts that resonate through history because Chinese as a large population ruled under one person, and that one ruler would put himself as like son of heaven or son of dragon, some sort of divinity to grant this one singular person to separate this one individual from the crowd, from the population. And that's Wang. And then we have Hou is today's lordship, right? So it's also, I guess, come from the same bloodline, but deprived of the political power. That's Hou. And then we have a Jiang Xiang, I'm going to introduce in later days. And then Ning is a question like, how so? Why so? It's not taken what's given, right? It's questioning the arrangement. 宁有种乎 have seed is a Chinese way to say, so you have some special generic setting that grant you the special status as a king, lord, general, minister. So this is a question of an average person in China, not the ruler class, not the ruler, not the ruling class, but the ruled people at the very bottom of the pyramid. And then they will, this line would put the question mark, kind of a speak on behalf of all the hugest body of population that's saying like, what's so special about them? Do they have a special seed, like genes, that they get granted into this ruler status above us? So that's quite rebellious questioning, and it resonates through history. Almost every dynasty before they were thrown, this line of thinking would emerge, would kind of trigger people to question the status quo, like why they are there on the throne to rule over us, especially when they made questionable decisions, right? Turn people's lives upside down. Like, why would I even support you? Are you made of any special material? Do you have a special seed? And that's kind of a question of this genetic or hereditary status quo. So that's a famous line. 王侯将相宁有种乎? And Hou, interestingly, takes on religious connotation, right? And I mean, it's so here. I'm not a religious person, as you can tell. But here, Lord, before I never really think about why we call Jesus Lord, because the king were kind of mapping earthly political structure onto this divinity arrangement, right? In Christianity, it would be the kingdom, right? That's the God level, and then the God's son would be the Lord. And obviously, after we explain what Lord to Chinese is holding the blood, but doesn't hold the power. And that's Lord. And I guess we can see that why Jesus would be the Lord role, not the king's role, right? So there you go. Thank you very much for your time. See you another day.